Alright, we back, bro. This is part 2 to part 1. Still 14 more horror stories animated. So, hey, if you came from part 1, made it to part 2, subscribe to the channel. You feel me? Because you already watching 2 videos. If you watching this one right now, at the end of the video, I'm going to make you want to sub. You feel me? But, hey, let's get to this.
About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major...
This is called The Smiling Man, by the way.
About 5 years ago, I lived downtown in a major city in the US. I've always been a night person, so I would often find myself bored after my roommate, who was decidedly not a night person, went to sleep. To pass the time, I used to go for long walks and spend the time thinking. I spent 4 years like that, walking alone at night, and never once had a reason to feel afraid. I always used to joke with my roommates that even the drug dealers in the city were polite. But all that changed in just a few minutes of one evening. It was a Wednesday, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and I was walking near a police-patrolled park quite a ways from my apartment. It was a quiet night, even for a weeknight, with very little traffic and almost no one on foot. The park, as it was most nights, was completely empty. I went down a short side...
I'm not gonna lie though, like, even in places like these, like, if you walk at night every single day, like let's say you walk at night every single day for a year, something might not happen, but the next year is definitely going to happen. Like something's going to happen, bro. If you're walking at nighttime, at least for like 30 minutes to an hour, something's going to happen at least. You're going to see at least something. A homeless nigga try to threaten you, something. It's going to be something, bro. You're going to get creeped out, something, bro. You feel me? And that's anywhere, especially areas with more force and shit, like areas that are perceived as nice areas. That's when like the more weirder crimes happen, like the R word, or like there's a kid like taking and shit. That's when you feel me, all the weirdos is at. Also in the hood, but the hood is way more different type of crime, you feel me? But the subs and suburbs and shit like that, it's just a bunch of weirdos, I'm not gonna lie.
Street in order to loop back down my apartment when I first noticed him. At the far end of the street, on my side, was the silhouette of a man dancing. It was a strange dance, similar to a waltz, but he finished each box with an odd forward stride. I guess you could say he was dance walking, headed straight for me. Deciding he was probably drunk, I stepped as close as I could to the road to give him the majority of the sidewalk to pass me. The closer he got, the more I realized how gracefully he was moving. He was very tall and lanky and wearing an old suit. He danced closer still, until I could make out his face. His eyes were open wide and wild, head tilted back slightly.
I mean, bro, if that's the case, my nigga, if you really that scared, bust that right, go up. Bust that right, keep going right, take a left. If you see him following you, you got an open lane to run. Unless he crosses in, already goes that open lane. Because you see this shit over here, right? He could easily walk over here and meet you when you run over there. You feel me? But if you run over there quick enough, all the way, you could run over here and do that. You feel me? If he starts chasing you. If he just walks, bro, you got no way.
He danced closer still, until I could make out his face. His eyes were open wide and wild, head tilted back slightly, looking off at the sky. His mouth was formed in a painfully wide cartoon of a smile. Between the eyes and the smile, I decided to cross the street before he danced any closer. I took my eyes off of him to cross the empty street. As I reached the other side, I glanced back, and then stopped dead in my tracks. He had stopped dancing and was standing with one foot in the street, perfectly parallel to me. He was facing me, but still looking skyward, smile still wide on his lips. I was completely and utterly unnerved by this. I started walking again, but kept my eyes on the man. He didn't move. Once I had put about half a block between us, I turned away from him for a moment to watch the sidewalk in front of me. The street and sidewalk ahead of me were completely empty. Still unnerved, I looked back to where he had been standing to find him gone. For the briefest of moments I felt relieved, until I noticed him. He had crossed the street and was now slightly crouched down. I couldn't tell for sure due to the distance and the shadows, but I was certain he was facing me. I had looked away from him for no more than 10 seconds, so it was clear that he had moved fast. I was so shocked and I stood there for some time, staring at him, and then he started moving toward me again. He took giant, exaggerated tiptoed steps, as if he were a cartoon character sneaking up on someone.
Damn.
Except he was moving very, very quickly. I'd like to say at this point that I ran away or pulled out my pepper spray or cell phone or anything at all, but I didn't. I just stood there, completely frozen, as the smiling man crept toward me.
Bro, at that point, bro, that's like... That's like... If it was back in the world, bro, back in the day where it was like natural selection based off of that, you would have def been out. You would have def been kicked out the door, bro. I'm not gonna lie, because that fight or flight reaction, it's gonna hit. You feel me? If it don't hit, then that's how you know it's not. Feel me? Because that's either you gonna tumble with him, get into whatever, and if he got a weapon or some shit, try to take it, but either that or you run, bro. You feel me? Personally, me, if I'm in this situation, I'm doing what I said. I'm circling the block, seeing if he's, you feel me? I'm gonna switch lanes, basically what I call it. You cross the street, go on one side. If they follow you, cross the street again. If they follow you, then that's how you know. You zigzag. If they follow you, that's how you know. And yeah, bro. If once I see that they following me, if it's just one person, I'm gonna confront them. I'll be like, "Yo, what's up? What happened?" You feel me? But if I'm in like the op block or something, not the op block, cause it's just personal beef. But if I'm in the person's hood that I know I got beef with, I'm just straight up gonna press him, cause I don't know if that's his homeboy or some shit trying to press me. I'm gonna just press him, you feel me? Knock him up or some shit, my nigga. I'm not gonna lie.
Me. And then he stopped again, about a car length away from me, still smiling his smile, still looking to the sky. When I finally found my voice, I blurted out the first thing that came to mind. What I meant to ask was, "What the fuck do you want?" in an angry, commanding tone. What came out was a whimper. What the fuck? Regardless of whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice. That only made me more afraid.
I'm not gonna lie, bro. When you pull up to a nigga, like, me personally, I don't look intimidating. At least what I think. But people see me, you feel me? They see me as a New York nigga. Certain niggas say that I look a certain way, but all I know, bro, I'm gonna try to show y'all niggas, right? He tried to say what?
I heard it in my own voice. That only made me more afraid. But he didn't react to it at all. He just fear. They can certainly hear it. Regardless of whether or not humans can smell what the fuck? Regardless of what...
Bro, if a nigga did that shit, bro, you gotta... The fuck you want, nigga? Fuck you gonna do? Fuck you gonna do, bitch? Huh? You feel me? I don't know if I should be cursing on YouTube, but... You feel me? And that's just... You feel me? That's just me not even trying. You should at least be able to do that, you feel me, by yourself. Now, when it's a person in front of you, it's a whole different thing. The energy is whole different. So you're way more intense with it. You feel me? I'm just not doing it right now because I'm not trying to press y'all niggas watching this right now. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, bro.
Whether or not humans can smell fear, they can certainly hear it. I heard it in my own voice. That only made me more afraid. But he didn't react to it at all. He just stood there, smiling. And then, after what felt like forever, he turned around, very slowly, and started dance-walking away. Just like that. Not wanting to turn my back to him again, I just watched him go, until he was far enough away to almost be out of sight. And then I realized something. He wasn't moving away anymore, nor was he dancing. I watched ran too. I ran until I was off the side road and back onto a better lit road with sparse traffic. Looking behind me then, he was nowhere to be found. The rest of my way home, I kept glancing over my shoulder, always expecting to see his stupid smile, but he was never there. I lived in that city for 6 months after that, and I never went out for another walk. There was something about his face that always haunted me. He didn't look drunk. He didn't look high. He looked completely and utterly insane.
Yeah, he on that type of timing, bro.
And that's a very, very scary thing to see.
I'm not gonna lie, the person detailing this sounds like they a suburban. I'm not gonna lie, they sound like they never stepped a day outside the suburbs. You feel me? Cause bro, obviously you should know, bro. There is people out there that's bad. I'm not gonna lie, you should know that already. This nigga probably thought shit. He even said it, bro. This nigga thought shit was sweet. You feel me? If you think shit is sweet, you should have, and you gonna walk around like it's sweet, you should at least be prepared if some shit is down to happen. You should at least be prepared. Because if you're having that type of mentality, bro, you can't walk around being mad weak thinking nothing's gonna happen to you. And then when it does if something happens to you, you don't know what to do. You can't be that type of person, bro. You gotta be smarter than that. You feel me? You gotta move smarter. Even the fact you walking out at night at that time, like you should just at least be walking around your hood. Yeah, you're filming your neighborhood. Not around like random areas like 30 minutes away from your crib. You feel me? Like, come on, bro. And if you are, like I said, goes back to what I said. You should have that mentality. You should not have that mentality, I mean.
So me and a couple of my buddies went camping last summer alongside the Willamette River. We actually had a decent hike into the deep end of woods. We did some night fishing, listening to music, and basically drank to the point where everything was funny later in the night.
Bet.
I would guess we finally called it a night somewhere past 2 a.m. I shared a tent with one of my buds while the other two shared another tent. We heard them laughing about something. At first we laughed at the sound of their laughing, but it soon got annoying and we yelled for them to shut up.
Damn.
One of them responded, "It isn't us." I sat up, startled at the response. I came to realize that it was the sound of only one person laughing, and it didn't sound like either one of my friends. Even in my drunk state, I realized how odd it was for somebody to be out this far in the woods so late at night. The laughing gradually got closer and louder to our campout. My friend shot up and looked at me with a worried look on his face. I heard my other friend scream over to us.
I'm not gonna lie, but if you're drunk, bro, you should not be scared. You should actually be the opposite and want all the action. I'm not gonna lie. Cause how old he say he was again?
They were getting freaked out. As the laughing got even closer, I could make it out very clearly to be the laugh of a male, probably in his 30s or 40s. He sounded like he was as drunk as us, messing around with friends, but we only heard his laugh, nobody else. There was something indescribably creepy about his laugh too, as if it was missing something to it. You had to be there to understand what I mean. The laughing was now just at the edge of our campsite. But we couldn't hear any footsteps at all. Now that may not seem like a big deal. It was impossible to move through that without making noise. And finally, all of a sudden, the laughing stopped completely. We had no idea where whoever that was standing, as he hadn't made a single stepping sound. We sat there in silence looking at each other. My friend was clearly freaking out, but he was keeping it together the best he could. Finally, something broke the silence. The sound of something rubbing against the cottony fabric of the tent. We saw the outline of a hand through the moonlight, pressing on the tent. We both screamed at the top of our lungs before getting out of the tent. We ran as fast as we could through the woods, our other friends following us.
You gonna leave your homies? What? Bro, that's so fake, bro. You gonna leave your homies? Bro, you have to. It's 4 of y'all, bro. If it's one person, it's 4 against 1, bro. Even if he got a blick, y'all all can rush him. He's not gonna get everybody. It's gonna be one person that's gonna stop him. Come on, bro. You gonna run away, let your homies. You gonna disperse, let your 2 homies get ran down on, and then that they probably gonna disperse too. So it's gonna be a 1-on-1.
After about 5 minutes of...
That's what I always say, bro. You gotta watch who you hang around with, bro. You gotta watch, cause that snakes in the grass, that whole shit that people be saying, it is true. There do be snakes in the grass, bro. They want all the help from you, but they never do it back to you. You never receive any back of the same love that you give other people. That's what you gotta watch out for. You gotta watch out for that, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Running, we somehow found our car. I actually puked from running so much before taking the wheel. I don't condone drinking and driving, but I still believe we were just in this situation. By far the most horrific experience of my life. No idea who or what the hell that was, or what they wanted.
Nightmares that read.
I was having a horrifying dream, possibly the most disturbing nightmare of my life. I was in my house, or the closest thing to my house that my dream could produce. Ironically enough, I was in bed in this dream, or at least I can only start remembering past the point of my lying in bed, and all of a sudden, the sound came from downstairs. I walked downstairs in the dark, not turning on any lights, to where I thought the sound was coming from. I was on my middle floor now. The dream was telling me to go downstairs to my laundry room, and so I did. But as I got there, expecting the noise to be louder and closer, it sounded like it was just as far as before. Now I was going upstairs to the kitchen, and it's strange, outside of every window was complete blackness, not general nighttime darkness. There was nothingness. I think all that existed in this dream was my house. Now my dream started to suggest that the banging sounds were coming from upstairs, so I went back upstairs and was eventually led to the attic door. It was surely beyond that door. I opened it. There was an old woman standing by a bunch of boxes. She was slowly but loudly slamming her hand on one of the boxes, producing an unnatural sound. I tried to quietly step back away from the attic, but the old woman turned around, opened her mouth twice as wide as anyone humanly could, reached out her arms, began to scream, and leaped toward me. That's when I woke up. I thought it was just a horrific dream, but when I heard a bang coming from downstairs, a bang similar to what I heard in my dream, I felt my heart completely drop.
Your dream was trying to tell you. Nah, this is what I'm saying, bro. Get your permit, bro. Everyone needs blicks, bro, nowadays. You feel me? Keep your permit, bro. If you don't got a blick, bro, at least get a sword. At least get something, bro, just in case somebody tries to come in your house, bro. At least. Cause in these situations, there's nothing you could do. What you gonna do? Run to the kitchen? They probably gonna catch you before you even reach the kitchen. I'm not gonna lie.
On my way downstairs, there was another bang. It was the front door. I got the butcher knife from my knife holder in the kitchen and crouched behind the door.
Okay, then I guess I'll stop talking.
I was waiting for the next time he would pound on the door, and I would warn him to go away. I waited for a good minute in silence, and finally decided to take a quick look through the window. There was somebody standing in my driveway. I couldn't tell if he was facing me or looking at me or not, but he was surely the one who was pounding on my door at 4 in the morning. He walked away down the sidewalk moments after he must have noticed me. The pounding on my door was the kind of pounding you would expect from someone trying to break in a door, not to get a house owner's attention. I thought it was just crazy and horrifying that the pounding and banging from this potential robber or killer didn't wake me up, rather became the key point to a horrifying dream.
That's crazy. The motel.
I was 19 years old at the time, working at a sketchy motel. The motel was pretty run down, and the majority of people who stayed there were locals that were just doing things they weren't supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Let's just say the cops came by multiple times a week.
Okay.
I worked as both a front desk person, checking in these creeps all hours of the night, and as a housekeeper who got to clean up their nasty, vomit-smelling rooms afterwards. One afternoon, I was working as a housekeeper in the second building of the motel on the backside furthest from the office. I hated working over there because it not only had the most worn-down rooms, but it was always pretty vacant over there and way too quiet for comfort. I began cleaning one of my last rooms and wanted to get done in a hurry because it was getting late. I was washing...
By the way, no, I don't. I do not promote these. You feel me? I got off these. I just got these because when I be at work and shit, I be hitting these. You feel me? But do not do these shits. They not good for you, bro. Just don't.
In the mirror in the room that I was cleaning, when all of a sudden, I saw a man in the reflection staring at me.
But now, once I'm done with this one, and I have the other one too, because I'm about to, I'm done with them. You feel me? I'm done with both of them shits.
He was mid-50s, dirty, with long, greasy hair. Startled, I screamed, "Oh my god." I told him he scared me. The room I was currently cleaning was vacant, so there was no reason why this man should have been in there watching me clean. However, we just had a meeting on customer satisfaction, and my boss was really pressuring us to be more polite and help the guests any way we could. Sir?" I asked him cautiously. Can I get you anything? Towels?" The man just stared back at me with a crooked grin and held out his hands to me. I thought maybe he was handing me a tip for cleaning his room earlier, but when I looked down, I saw he was holding a $100 bill.
He thinks
Alarms started going off in my head. No one tips $100 on a $40 a night room. The man just smiled and said his name was Terry. He said he was staying in the room next door with his wife Sherry and sort of joked about their names rhyming. He smelled like car oil and alcohol. When I asked him why he was trying to hand me $100, he laughed deep in his throat and said, "Me and my wife were watching you, and we just wanted to have fun with you." I felt like my heart jumped into my throat. No, I can't do that, sir, I'm sorry." I wanted to run out of the room screaming, but he was blocking the door, my only exit. The man smiled again, taking on a softer tone of voice, and invited me to come into his room to meet his wife, just to talk as friends. I nervously told him no again, and that I had a lot of work to do for the day. I prayed to God he would just go away, and eventually he did. He grunted and walked off in what I assumed to be the direction of his room. My mind began racing. There is no wife, I thought. This man could try and kidnap me. I was 110 pounds at the time and not very strong. He could easily overpower me. I locked the room from the inside and went directly to the phone to call my manager at the front desk, but the phone wasn't working. Adrenaline began pumping through my veins, and despite what I was always told not to do, I was panicking. Did he cut the line? No, I thought. This is a crappy motel. It happens all the time. But I just have to get out. I remembered that I had my cell phone out on my housekeeping card, but that was outside the locked door. I'd have to open the door to get it. I cautiously opened the door to the room that I was cleaning and peered out. I didn't see anyone, so I frantically began searching my cart for my cell phone.
You left your cell phone in the cart? In a bad motel? Bro, do people just nowadays not think, bro? Are people just not... Do they not have common sense, bro? Because there's no way... This is real right now. There's no way I'm hearing this. You're gonna leave your phone outside in an area you know is not good. What do you think is gonna happen? People,
wasting too much time looking for it, so I just decided to run as fast as I could and make a break for the front desk in the office. Then from behind me, I heard the man again, but this time he was screaming to someone else, "She's running, she's getting away." I could hear his shoes slamming against the pavement after me. I quickly turned the corner, grabbed my keycard, and let myself into a stockroom and locked the door. Within moments, I heard the sound of the dirty guy and someone else running outside, searching for me. I stayed in that stockroom for 30 minutes shaking until I could no longer hear him searching for me. I finally got the courage to run the rest of the way to the front desk. When I made it there, I collapsed into my boss's arms and he called the police. The man and whoever else was in the room with him peeled out before the cops could arrive, and I was beyond shaken up. According to the police who ran a search, this wasn't the first time he had done something like this, and he was actually wanted for sexual assault, gross sexual imposition, and in the past was once charged with rape.
Wow.
A few weeks later, on what happened to be my birthday, this guy was caught. A few weeks after that, I quit. I will never again work at another motel.
Crazy. You gotta be careful, bro. You really gotta be careful. You gotta know what you're getting yourself into. I'm not gonna lie. You gotta know. The Ouija board, bro.
Ever since I can remember, we've always had one of those old vintage Parker Brother Ouija boards sitting in our closet collecting dust. When I was a kid, I always wondered what it was. From the box, it seemed like a horrible board game, until one day I found out what a Ouija board really is, and immediately dug it out of the closet. I insisted on my brother trying it out with me, and eventually got him to play along. We put our hands on the planchette, and I began asking the typical cliche questions like, is there anybody there?
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Me personally, I don't believe in ghosts, bro, but you never know, bro. Like, that bad energy, I do believe in bad energy, though. You could bring that bad energy around you. But I do not believe in ghosts. I'm not gonna lie. Just me personally, personal experience, I don't know. Especially BuzzFeed Unsolved, all day episodes, bro. Nothing, only one or two things happen. And that was like, distinct sounds. Like, not distinct, but like, it wasn't sounds that was like, would prove anything. It was just like,
there.
Bro.
And can you answer me? Other than my brother jokingly moving the planchette around to imitate an answer from some kind of entity, there was no real response. After getting bored, we put the game back in the box. I did a little research that night to find out how to make Ouija boards work. Many people said online that the most ideal environment when using a Ouija board is in a dark room only lit by candles. So when my parents weren't home, I managed to gather like 6 or 7 candles and convinced my brother to try it one more time. I lit the candles and set them around the table in the dining room with all the lights out. We tried one more time. I asked again if there was anybody there. The planchette began to move. I told my brother to stop moving it, but he swore he wasn't. I told him to move his hand away, and he did. It kept moving. My brother thought I was messing with him, but I didn't pay attention. The planchette landed on the word yes. I was only 9, so I was legitimately shitting myself. My older brother had to take over. He asked the question, "Are you a good spirit?" There was a 5-second pause before my brother's hand moved along with the planchette to the word no. We both looked at each other, and at this point I ran to my room and shut the door behind me, but he continued on with the so-called game. I heard his muffled voice come from down in the dining room, when all of a sudden I heard him screaming at the top of his lungs. I ran back downstairs to see what was wrong. He was holding up his shirt, revealing a small open wound.
That's crazy.
That almost looked like a claw mark. He told me to set the fireplace immediately, and I obeyed. He threw the thing in the fireplace and told me to never speak of what happened to anybody.
Bro, aren't you supposed to do a whole like seance or something? Like, not seance, but like, aren't you supposed to say goodbye to the spirit, bro? Isn't that bad if you just do that? Because that means you're leaving it. Isn't that bad?
Buddy, we have never used a Ouija board since.
And you burned it? I'm not gonna lie, ask your parents or anybody around you if they know anything about that type of stuff, like spirits and stuff, because it's in your house for a reason. That's all I'm gonna say. My camera about to die soon too. That's crazy. I'll be back, bro. My camera died.
Us would sometimes cross over to the neighboring farm about half a mile away. It had been abandoned for decades, with a scattering of derelict buildings and other structures still standing on the property, just begging to be explored. This was of course a gold mine for 3 adventurous young boys such as ourselves, especially after my cousins told me stories about the deaths that took place in the house. It was pretty classic fare. Man goes crazy, axe murders his entire family, hangs himself, returns every night as an angry spirit looking for new victims. Good, grisly stuff. Even at that age, I knew they were probably making it up, or at least embellishing old rumors. But seeing as how the setting lent itself so well to such tales, I allowed myself to buy into it. One afternoon, we decided to play hide and seek. When it was my turn to hide, I ran off for a flimsy brown barn that had living quarters on top and climbed the stairs looking for a good spot. There was still furniture inside, and personal belongings lay scattered across the floor. I maneuvered over broken dishes, tattered clothes, and crumbling books, eventually coming to a small room with a closet. Jackpot. There were even long black dresses.
Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is crazy, bro, that people, like, actually do this, bro, because I'm not gonna lie, at least me, being a child, I would not be able to do this. You feel me? Like, be able to go out at night, like, even go out like this. Because my parents was on that. You feel me? My mom and shit, she was on that. She didn't let me go out. You feel me? So, it's crazy to hear that type of shit, bro. You feel me? It's crazy.
Still hanging on the rod that I could hide behind. I stepped inside and managed to force shut the folding door. My only illumination was a slit of sunlight that shone through the crack in the door from a nearby window. I crouched down with knees tucked into chest and waited. Some time passed and there was still no sign of my seekers. I waited some more, debating if and when I should give myself up. After nearly an hour, this was starting to get boring. My head drooped. I woke with a jerk. It was pitch black. Drowsy and confused, I forgot for a minute.
Actually, yo, I think I remember this. I remember
where I was.
He's gonna wake up and then,
or what I had been doing.
I forgot
As
what
it came
happened.
back to me, the realization that it was now nighttime and that I had been abandoned here filled me with sinking dread in the pit of my stomach. I tried to get up, but a sudden cramp in my calf kept me grounded. I squirmed about, waiting for it to pass, when I heard a door slamming shut downstairs, and instantly froze. One of my cousins? There was a brief period of silence, then footsteps at the bottom of the stairs. But not just footsteps, a thud too. After every other step. These weren't the footfalls of a child. They were slow, heavy, deliberate. I held my breath, praying they would go away. They did not. The noises continued to ascend. After another moment of silence, the walking resumed, this time along with a steady scraping sound, like something heavy being dragged across the floorboards. The footsteps made their way through the debris and wandered aimlessly through the various rooms. I thought I could smell something faintly putrid. The constant scrape sent cold shivers coursing down my arms and back. My worst fears were realized when the steps reached the bedroom doorway. They got closer and closer, and finally stopped directly in front of the closet door. I couldn't see a thing. After an agonizing pause, they continued on, over to the other side of the room.
Nah, this some movie shit, bro. I'm not. This happens in the movie.
The doorway again. They faded away down the hallway. I waited for what seemed like an eternity. There were no more sounds now, and I was trying to build up enough courage to open the door and flee. 3 things happened simultaneously just then. I was bombarded with a smell I can only describe as fresh roadkill. I heard raspy breathing behind me in the dark closet, and I felt hot breath against the nape of my neck. That was enough for me to hurtle myself out from the confines of that nightmare space, relying on memory and scant moonlight to navigate through the darkened house. All the while, I heard footsteps chasing behind me, closing in with terrifying speed. It was a clumsy, torturous escape full of trips and bumps and blind stumbling. I never looked back, at least not until I had burst out the front door and into the country night. And when I did turn around, I saw absolutely nothing. There were no more footsteps and nobody was chasing me. That didn't stop me from running though, all the way back to my aunt and uncle's house. There was a police car in the driveway when I got back. My parents were there too, worried sick. Everybody demanded to know where I had been. Apparently, when my cousins still hadn't found me by evening, they'd returned home to tell their parents. Eventually, the police were called in and informed me that they had already scoured every building on the farm. The insinuation that I was lying about my whereabouts didn't go unnoticed.
What?
None of it made any sense. It wasn't until years later that one of my cousins filled in a final piece of the story. He and his brothers had spent hours searching for me like they said, but the part they didn't tell anyone was that they thought they spotted me in the window of the bedroom I was hiding in. And when they got closer, they saw that it wasn't me. A young boy neither of them recognized was smiling and waving down at them and gesturing for them to come upstairs. That's when they ran back home. All of this while I slept in the closet.
That's crazy. A Christmas horror story?
This story took place about 5 years ago on Christmas Eve night. It was around 1 in the morning, and I had just finished placing presents under the tree. I went upstairs to brush up and everything, then came back downstairs to the kitchen to get a glass of water before bed. My son Jake, who was 4 at the time, was standing by the stairs leading to the basement. I asked him what he was doing up so late. He pointed down the stairs and said, "Santa." I picked him up and carried him back to his room. I took a glass of water and went to bed. I woke up around an hour later to my son running down the hall outside my room. I sighed and got out of bed. As I was going down the stairs, I saw Jake by the tree looking at presents. Then he ran past me into the basement stairs again. He pointed down the stairs again. This time I looked down the stairwell, and my heart dropped as I saw a black figure sitting on the bottom step. I almost screamed, but I somehow held it in. I pulled my son quietly away from the basement door and closer to the front door of the house. I moved my hand away from my son's mouth to reach for the lock in the doorknob. I tried to pull the door open as quietly as possible, but it was pointless. The squeaky hinges let out the usual ear-piercing screeches, and I cringed in my mouth and eyes as I did. Suddenly, there were heavy stomps coming from up the basement stairs. I screamed and pushed open the storm door and practically threw Jake outside. I shut both doors behind us and we ran to the neighbor's house. I rang the doorbell as fast as possible, probably 30 times before they answered. After that, we went inside and stayed there and waited for the police. Whoever that person was gone though, as determined after the police conducted a thorough investigation
of course, they always pull up when the person's gone.
House.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. For weirdos like this, they should pull up on time. But for niggas like finessing here and lick shit like that, it's kind of, it comes in their favor. I'm not gonna lie, it comes in their favor. That's all I'm saying.
I ended up lying to Jake, telling him that actually was Santa Claus. But a few years later, he remembered the incident and became a little more wise to what actually happened.
Hey, that's something about myself to subscribe to your channel. You feel me? Let me know what you want me to watch down in the comment section down below. And hey, this was a good video. Kind of long. This was an hour. I spent an hour reacting to this, bro. You at least like the video to that, bro. If you made it this far, you feel me? You at least watch 20 minutes of this. So hey, I'm finna catch you on the next one, bro. Stay safe.